Chapter 5. Jeff Morgan sat in his office at the University of Liverpool, quite aware of what was going on in Warrington. He was waiting for their call, so confident was he that they would need him sooner or later, probably sooner. It was a long time since he'd worked with D.I. Price. The last time, it was obvious she still held a grudge against him. He hoped she had gotten over that by now. After all, it had been more than 5 years ago. And despite her cold attitude, he liked working with her. She was a good cop, and he enjoyed a challenge. Last time they had worked together, they'd solved a case of 2 missing children. Too late for one, but the second child had been reunited with his family. Jeff did wonder if the boy would thank them for that when he got older, because he was never going to get over what had happened to him. He was scarred physically and mentally for life. In fact, Jeff wouldn't be at all surprised to see him as one of his patients in years to come. He hoped to God the child would get some sort of help, because he was going to need it. A tap on his door meant that his 2 o'clock appointment had turned up. "Yes, come in." A tall, well-built man peeped around the door. "Come in, Tom." Tom eased himself into the room as if he were in a narrow tunnel and he suffered from claustrophobia. He stroked the outside of his thighs in a continual nervous movement. "It's okay, Tom, it's just you and me. Come and sit down." The man sat down. At no time since entering had he made eye contact with Jeff. Every muscle was taut. He was ready to flee. Jeff opened his notebook. "Now, Tom, you were telling me last time about how you wanted to kill your mother. Shall we take it from there?" Becky was fed up. Too much wine last night was now tapping on her shoulder and telling her she needed coffee and painkillers. Just around the corner from the murder site was the middle-class suburb of Stockton Heath, with overpriced houses and too many cars. But it also had a collection of small boutiques, restaurants, and more importantly, coffee shops. Becky headed for one now. It was cold and bright today, not the kind of weather for a grisly murder. The bluebells and the daffodils were poking their heads above the ground to see if they could come out and play yet. The first coffee emporium she saw was called 24/7, so she went in. The bell rang as she entered, and the welcome smell of coffee beans made her mouth fill with saliva. "Morning, what can I do for you?" The man behind the counter was bright and cheerful as the weather, which contradicted her melancholy feeling about life and death at the moment. "Americano, please, black with an extra shot." The place was buzzing. The downstairs was full of yummy mummies, grabbing time with their friends between school runs, housework, and probably high-flying careers. Becky tuned into the nearest table. "I told Gordon he'd have to wait for the documents until after the school holidays. I said, I do have a life, you know." Becky decided her deduction was spot on. But then she was a detective. "Staying in?" the man asked as he punched at his till. "What? Sorry, yes, I'll go upstairs." "Right, I'll ring it up. That'll be £3, please." Becky paid and escaped to the jolly chatter for the first floor, which was still busy, but much quieter. She found a table by the window. Nearby, 2 comfortable settees and an armchair were occupied by a group of 7 people, 2 women and 5 men. One of the women was talking. "I didn't know if the blood would come off, and my heart started to race." Becky stared at her, not quite believing what she was hearing, and then realised with relief the woman was reading from a notebook, and it wasn't presumably some sort of group of confessions. Murders Anonymous? Becky smiled at that. She took out her phone and pretended to check it, but she was all ears. She needed to know what came next. "I heard sirens in the distance, and I knew then I would have to run, because nobody was going to believe that I hadn't done it." The woman looked up from her script and sighed. "Well," she asked, "what do you think? Be honest now." "I like it," said a man in the group. "I think it's moving a bit too fast." "Too fast?" said the woman, looking pained. Obviously she hadn't meant it when she'd asked for their honesty. 2 weeks ago you said it was too slow. Make your mind up, Rupert." "It's not realistic enough for me," added another critic. "You need more blood, more gore, more sex." The second woman in the group spoke up. "We're not all looking for grisly murders, you know, David. Some of us happen to like cosy murder mysteries." "Rubbish, that isn't real crime," he spat. "We're supposed to be a crime writers group, not the Midsummer Murders fan club." Becky was enjoying this little domestic when her coffee arrived. "Here we go." The waiter put Becky's cup down and looked over at the now heated discussion. "Now, guys, what's the problem?" he asked. "It's just David being a twat again," said the second woman. Then she smiled, and the tension there a moment ago dissolved into laughter. The group chatted to the waiter, and Becky could tell that they all knew each other. "Anyhow," asked David, "how's your bloodbath novel coming along?" "Sort of stall," said the waiter, "trying to work out how much blood a body can lose without the victim dying, and how long they'd stay alive for." The young waiter was medium-sized with unruly hair that spilled over his eyes. "Depends on the body weight and the gender." This came from David, who Becky decided was a bit of a know-it-all. Becky was enjoying this diversion from her real job when her phone rang. "DC Wainwright," she answered on automatic pilot, and then realised that the room had gone very quiet and every eye was upon her.